They kicked this whole thing off, and this was actually a big shocker to me. They kicked this off by talking about Corporal Alvin York, United States Army. Right, so I expected this to be all Marines, but the Marine Corps is awesome. And they said, hey, these are awesome examples of where a squad leader made a difference, and we're going to use them. France, 1918. The Meuse-Argonne Offensive was the last important battle of the First World War. On the night of 25 September 1918, over 1 million American soldiers moved up to relieve the French forces on the front lines. The American advance that ensued swept easily through the first two lines of German trenches, and then progress slowed. Facing stiff resistance, the reserve division was called up. Corporal Alvin York served as an infantryman in the 82nd Division. York's company started across a valley at 6 in the morning. As they began to move, the company came under heavy fire. From behind a hill, enemy machine guns mowed down the first wave of advancing Americans. No one knew where the deadly fire was coming from, so York's platoon sergeant decided to take the platoon on a mission to find it. The platoon found a gap in the enemy lines and circled to the rear where they thought the machine guns might be. The group of Americans stumbled across two German litter bearers whom they followed back to the headquarters of the machine gun battalion. The Americans walked right into the German machine gun command post, opened fire, and the Germans immediately surrendered. Upon hearing the fire behind them, the Germans that were dug in near the command post swung their weapons around and began firing at the Americans. Caught in the open in a hail of automatic fire, the Americans instantly took casualties. Corporal York took aim at the nearest machine gun about 25 yards away and killed the man behind the gun. He continued to fire at each German who popped his head out of a foxhole. After watching his troops being massacred by this lone sharpshooter, the German major in command yelled to York, "If you'll stop shooting, I'll make them surrender." Work on your marksmanship, people. Work on your marksmanship. Within minutes, the remaining American troops had captured 90 German prisoners, but they were behind enemy lines. Corporal York took charge and quickly organized his platoon. He decided to move back towards friendly positions straight through the German lines. York ordered the German prisoners to carry back the American wounded. Every time the group came upon a German position, York told the captured German major to order the troops to surrender. The well-disciplined German soldiers never questioned the order, and by the time York's small band reached friendly lines, they had acquired 132 German prisoners. In their wake, York's platoon left 35 deserted German machine gun positions and a significant gap in the German defenses. This gap, which York had created, was a vital element to the success of the division's advance. This advance gave momentum to the American forces and contributed to the success of the offensive. Phenomenal. Here's the lessons. Corporal York was quick to exploit the opportunity which had been created. He realized that his actions would affect the outcome of the battalion's advance and made decisions which supported his commander's intent. His strong situational awareness guided him in taking action which had decisive results. You know, when you think, even when I think of World War I soldiers, I definitely envision someone that's much more obedient than what we have in the modern all-volunteer military today, right? You've got someone that's, I would say the whole world was more obedient, right? You had a much more stringent class structure in America. You had the much further separation between the officers and the enlisted. And so for this kid to be like, oh, I got this, it's incredible. It's incredible to show that kind of initiative. And I think the fact that it was in World War I is even more incredible.
Think about what would happen if he was just standing around waiting to be told what to do in that situation, though, which is what so many leaders we work with think is the right call. Like, oh, you should just wait to be told what to do and then carry on orders without question. And he would just be standing there waiting to be told what to do, and they would fail. And maybe the whole offensive fails as a result. Instead of someone who actually understands the why, understands the commander's intent and the purpose behind what they're trying to do, and can take the initiative to go make things happen.
Yeah, you know, I often say, and I wrote about, I don't want yes men, right? I don't want someone that's just like, yep, hey, sounds good, Jocko. Sounds great. You know, you want someone that's going to push back and like, hey, I don't agree with that. Wait, what about this? You take that one step further. It's like, I want someone that's just going to figure out what to do and go freaking execute it, right? That's what we want. That's what we're trying. That's what we want. That's what we're trying to grow. That's what we're trying to develop in our subordinate leadership, is that they are going to look beyond what I can see and say, oh, I bet if I did this, it would be a good move. And maybe they're batting 80%. I'm good with that. I'd rather have somebody batting 80% on 80% good moves that took initiative and made things happen. And 20% of the time I got to go, oh, Leif, hey, hold what you got, man. Don't go over there yet. Much rather have that initiative.
But that's something you've helped me with as well, though, because I think it's a hard thing for a lot of leaders to accept. It's like, well, you know, we got to come up with the right solution. We don't want to make mistakes, and we want to move forward. And you know, when you're like, listen, 80% solutions and go, 80% solutions and go. We're never going to have a perfect plan, so let's get the plan as close, you know, in a good direction, and then execute and have the initiative, be default aggressive. I think that's I know it can stifle me, and I've struggled with that. And I'm not executing because I'm trying to get it to the 97% solution. You're like, listen, 80% solution, start moving things forward, execute. And I think that's very empowering to think about, that you don't have to have the perfect plan. Yeah. You got to just go.
Yeah, very liberating to be like, oh yeah, I don't care about that. Hey, we might not be, oh yeah, I don't care. You know, what if, yeah, I don't care about that. That hill over there? Yeah, get there. Well, do you want me to have a logistics? No, I don't care about that. Well, do you want me to do it in the daytime? No, I don't care. Well, no, I don't care. Why don't you get that hill? Okay. But let's do it.
The point I'm making here, though, is you know, even whether it's echelon front or working together and tasking a bruiser, in you know, there can be something like in my mind where I'm like, hey, you know, Jocko's really good at this, and I got to make sure that Jocko has like, this is the right plan, and it's going to meet every single thing that, you know, he wants to do. So you start putting these self-imposed restrictions instead of like when you're like, hey man, 80% solutions, go bro, let's execute. And it's super liberating to think about it that way. And you realize like, hey, what I thought, you know, I've got to get this thing perfect. So, you know, Jocko's like, yeah, that's good. I actually don't, and I'm actually failing if I'm not executing, and I'm sitting here trying to come up with a perfect plan.
Yeah, there was some report you were trying to get, and you were like, hey, you know, I haven't gotten you this report because I can't quite figure out this little detail at the end to make sure that it's 100%, and I'm just not getting it to you because I don't want it to be inaccurate, and I don't want to have you like pissed. And I was like, bro, I remember exactly. I said, have I ever sweated you for the details on anything in the past 15 years? And it was funny. You kind of tilted your head a little bit and you went, nope. And I was like, why do you think I'm gonna start sweating these little, like, literally meaningless details? And you're like, Roger, I'm an idiot. Cool, got it. So no factor.
And that is a great example, though, because here I am stewing about trying to put together a multi-page report, and you're like, hey bro, just send me just say, hey, I don't have all the information yet. Here's what I think we're doing. Here's kind of the general, you know, direction we should go. And as soon as you said that, I was like, just another reminder that it's self-imposed restrictions, and it's really it can cause all kinds of problems. So
yeah, and obviously that means I'm doing a bad job of, you know, telling you what the parameters are of success. You know, if I'm like, hey, can you tell me what these numbers are? You're like, cool, yeah, but it's going to take me 3 weeks to dive into all these details. If I was like, hey, and I was like, hey, dude, I just need to know like ballpark where we at. Oh, okay, got it, because I can give you that in 13 minutes. But you know, it goes back to some of that implied commander's intent, right? Because the implied commander's intent is that when I ask for something, I need that thing, right? Hey, you know, when Jocko asks for something, because he doesn't ask for much, when he asks for something, he must want that thing really exact. The implied intent is that the implied intent with me is basically I want perfection. Right? That's a complete implied intent. And for some reason, Echo's never really picked up on that implied intent.
No.
No, that's actually not true. If I think about it, like the way there's been some things where I found out after the fact what you did to reach a level of as close as a human can get to perfection on something, where I've been like, I didn't expect him to do all that, but he did it. So that implied level of perfection, just from my own stupid personality, is like enough to make someone say, well, I better get this right before, we go forward. And that sucks. And I talked about it at Gettysburg. It was like, you've got to think about what your implied commander's intent is. And especially if you're going to ask somebody to do something that's outside that normal implied commander's intent, and we talked about it with General Lee and some of his subordinate leaders, that, hey, General Lee was about kicking ass. So we're moving here. What's General Lee going to want me to do? He's going to want me to kick ass and go forward. But he said, hey, don't go forward right now. But they get that word. They're like, yeah, but it's General Lee. I'm going to go get some. And they messed things up. So you got to pay attention to that implied commander's intent that just your personality has. Your own personality has a culture to it. And you got to pay attention. Scary.
That was some rare praise for Echo Charles there. We got to note that down. Take a well-deserved, obviously.
Thanks, both of you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking like the first time we ever went to like travel to do the podcast, and you had and I expected, I was like, I had my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, my ears crossed, hoping that, all this, quote, all this equipment showed up and we'd be able to, we have some guest come in and it's going to be there, the time is valuable and all this stuff. And I'm like thinking, oh, I hope this, and yet you had it all, in the Pelican case.
Yep.
Everything was there. I was like,
Squared away.
Squared away.
As it were.
Which is not, maybe what everyone expects. Maybe some people have a different implied scenario.
All right.